It may be the most dangerous political flashpoint in the world. China is spending vast amounts on its military and is sending regular flights into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone. Not far away, warships of the US Navy, alongside the UK, Japan and other allies, regularly practice combat drills. And in the middle of it are the 24 million people of Taiwan, a self-governed democracy. So, is China preparing for war? The short answer is yes. It's actually written into the Chinese constitution. China's constitution says, Taiwan is part of the sacred territory of the People's Republic of China. It is the inviolable duty of all Chinese people, including our compatriots in Taiwan, to accomplish the great task of reunifying the motherland. And in 2005, China passed a law stating that if the possibilities for a peaceful reunification should be completely exhausted, the state shall employ non-peaceful means and other necessary measures. So China is legally committed to war and thus to some extent must prepare for it. Of course, it's not framed as invasion, but reunification.
坚强决心，坚定意志，强大能力.
And to understand why, we need the backstory. After the end of the Second World War, China entered a bloody civil war between the Nationalists, or KMT, and the Chinese Communist Party. When the Communists triumphed, the KMT fled to Taiwan and stayed there, imposing martial law with the backing of the US. So there were two Chinas, the People's Republic of China on the mainland and the Republic of China on Taiwan, both claiming to represent one China. Things got more complicated in 1979 when the US formally recognized the People's Republic of China. As a result, it now maintained only unofficial relations with Taiwan, although Congress did sign a bill to supply it with defensive weapons. Since then, the US has regarded the Taiwan question as unsettled and has not explicitly committed to its defense, a policy known as strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity has actually worked pretty well so far, but two long-term trends are making it more difficult. First, Taiwan became a democracy. And with that democracy, there's been a growing sense of Taiwanese, not Chinese, identity on the island, especially in opposition to the authoritarian system of communist rule on the mainland. Second, mainland China became much more rich and much more powerful, and started spending big on its military. China under President Xi Jinping has been much more assertive.
谁妄想这样干，必将在14多亿中国人民用血肉铸成的钢铁长城面前.
It's launched a brutal crackdown in Xinjiang, detaining around 1 million Uyghurs and other minorities. In the South China Sea, reefs have been militarized, with airfields built. Hong Kong has been brought under tight control. The protests of 2019 have been crushed, a national security law introduced, and the already meagre pro-democracy opposition vanquished. So when Xi Jinping said this, resolving the Taiwan question and realizing China's complete reunification is a historic mission and an unshakable commitment of the Chinese Communist Party. It's no surprise that people are taking the risk of war very seriously. Taiwan certainly is. This is what its foreign minister told Sky News.
This is our country, this is our people, and this is our way of life, and we will defend ourselves to the very end.
Put China and Taiwan's militaries head-to-head, and it's rather lopsided. China has around 1 million ground force soldiers. It has around 350 ships and submarines, and its air force is more than 2,500 aircraft strong. Taiwan, on the other hand, has around 88,000 army soldiers, just over 100 warships, and 460 aircraft. But add in the US, and it's a fairer fight. America has nearly 1.4 million troops, around 300 naval vessels, and about 5,500 aircraft. Just because China could invade Taiwan doesn't mean that it would. There are enormous costs. And the big question is whether the US would intervene.
I've spoken with Xi about Taiwan. We'll abide by the Taiwan agreement. That's where we are. And we made it clear that I don't think he should be doing anything other than abiding by the agreement.
And even without US intervention, China would face being condemned and cut off by the rest of the world, with economic sanctions being applied. There is one certainty in all of this. If Taiwan were to formally declare independence, China would invade. That's part of the reason for US strategic ambiguity. It doesn't want to guarantee the island's defense in case that emboldens it to make that declaration. But that ambiguity is being pushed to its limits, with China using so-called grey zone tactics to increase the pressure. China's air incursions are designed to train its own pilots, scope out Taiwan's defences, and wear out its air force. And there are several ways China could push things even further. It could send planes into Taiwan's direct airspace rather than its air identification zone. It might try seizing some of the smaller islands that Taiwan controls that lie very close to the Chinese mainland, or it could try blockading Taiwan economically. All of those steps would be a real deterioration, but we are not there yet. Still, with so much military hardware in the region and with the US-China relationship so bad, the opportunity for mistakes does exist and the consequences would be massive. So even if China isn't preparing for war, and that's a big if, events could still lead the world there.